Alright, so take your bets now as to how many people are going to comment on this video without actually watching it and going to complain about me having a victim mentality or being woke or something, or comment on my appearance. They're just going to humiliate themselves because this video is not about commiserating how much society hates disabled people or non-white people. That's just going to be taken as a given. In this video, we're going to talk about how to actually survive, maybe even thrive a little bit, and push back against that system and actually make money in ways that they constantly tell you can't. How to survive when the beaten paths that you've been told to take do not work for you. So for anyone who's watched any of my previous videos, you may already know kind of what my story is about, but to give a quick recap, if you can think of a job, I've probably done it. I've done white collar, I've done blue collar. I've mainly been in the tech industry sector. Did a lot of QA, dev work, yada, yada, yada. Did my time in corporate America. And let me tell you, I'd almost just rather be in prison a lot of times.
You should die. You should throw a beach party.
I would often get let go from contracts for things that I now realize mostly had to do with my autism. While I would watch a lot of my male coworkers, sometimes even other autistic male coworkers, do way worse and basically just get to keep their jobs. They might get a finger wagged at them, but that's about it. I've worked a lot of jobs trying to figure out where I fit into this job market, this economy, this society, and most main jobs basically told me to fuck off. And so I did what any good bootstrapping and apple pie loving American did and said and created my own job. And so what I do now is I have a business called Scooter Girls Tech Support Link, and I also do dog sitting, especially during the holidays. Actually, when I was living in Columbus in my car, I made bank doing dog sitting and cat sitting. How I fell into those businesses is when I was working in normal tech jobs and I would go to these tech meetups. It was found that I was really good at helping people who didn't know anything about tech. The older guys who knew way more than maybe I'll even ever know would try to help them, and they legitimately wanted to help. And they just couldn't do it. They just didn't have the patience. They didn't have the empathy. They didn't know what it was like to not be tech savvy. I remember what it's like to not be tech savvy because I started becoming tech savvy about halfway through college. And so, also, I had a few boomer friends who I would help them with their tech. And I had like a hairstylist friend, who I helped with her tech. And, eventually it just kind of naturally was like, okay, here is a need that needs filled that nobody really seems to be filling, or the people that can don't want to do it. And people will pay money for it. And so, yeah, see a need, fill a need. It really is that sometimes. Anyway, so I'm not here to suggest that this is all simple. It can take some people literally decades to kind of figure out what their skill is. It can take them till they're 40 or 50, and that's perfectly okay. And also, I've already made videos about this, but freelancing's not for everybody. It's something you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of. But we'll assume you've already gotten to the point where you're like, okay, freelancing is for me. Or you don't really have any other good option because you're disabled. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about what my disabilities actually are. Undiagnosed autistic. Yeah, come at me with your self-diagnosing bullshit. I was raised in an era they didn't diagnose girls unless they were really severe. I also cannot stand on my feet for more than a few hours, and that's actually a really important one, because a lot of the jobs that you can get like tomorrow in America require you to be on your feet for 8 hours. You don't need to gloat, European viewers. I already know, okay? I also get headaches pretty bad. I've got a giant fucking throbbing headache right now. I actually had a job which looking back, it should have not been a problem since I was technically an independent contractor, but a lot of independent contractor jobs, they try to treat like W-2 positions because they can. Where I only in practice worked 4 days a week when I was supposed to work 5, because at least one day of the week I would just have a giant throbbing headache I couldn't get rid of. I am also medicated for some OCD-ish hypochondria stuff, though a lot of that's actually largely dealt with between therapy and medication. Here's something I want to talk about. So you will be amazed how much people will forgive the little weird habits, like bad eye contact, you know, if you stutter that, you know, problems with interrupting because you cannot detect the natural breaks in conversations. You'll be surprised how much people will forgive if you have a skill that they need. Now, there's not an excuse to be a dick, okay? And unfortunately, as a society, we've decided, particularly for white men, that if you are very good in tech, you get to be a dick. That is not what I'm encouraging here. Those guys get off. What I'm talking about more so is that if it is clear you want to help and you have a skill that will help people, if you've been trained by your parents or society or the school you went to or ABA or whatever, that the little things like the bad eye contact will keep you from getting anywhere in life unless you get those fixed, I'm here to tell you I'm proof that's just not true. When I do dog sitting, I've done it enough at this point. I'm sure I've weirded some people out with my lack of eye contact, or they're like, she's kind of off, but they don't care because it is very clear that I love dogs, I care about dogs, and I know what the I'm doing, and I have answers to all their questions. I know what questions to ask. If anything, my autism is actually kind of an asset because it gives me this attention to detail and this kind of focus that they want. You know, they can tell I'm not there to bullshit them. I care about their dogs, you know? I can read their dogs better than I can read them. But in this case, that's fine. For Scooter Girls tech support, again, I'm there to help. They really, even a lot of these boomers that probably think I'm so fucking weird because I get none of the social cues right, or I dress weird, all that, they do not care. Because they are just so happy to have someone be like, listen, I don't think you're dumb because you don't know how to convert to PDF. I will help you to convert to PDF. I know you're good at other things. You know, you're a good carpenter, you're a good hairstylist, okay? I know you're not dumb. I'm here to help you with these things. I'm not here to judge. And to actually mean it, when that is so rare for tech people nowadays, they really don't give a damn about the autism. They really don't. And then, of course, there are some jobs where I think even having autism is a bit of an asset. Like I alluded to, I think a lot of autistic women find themselves in kind of animal care. Tech's been kind of known for having a lot of autistic people because of our attention to detail and our ability to kind of obsess over something. A lot of people with bipolar and stuff tend to be very creative if they can get the emotion stuff dealt with. Professional artists, you'll find, tend to have some sort of emotional dysregulation syndrome disorder. I know whatever phrase I use there, someone's gonna be pissed off. You can substitute it with whatever makes you happy. You do also eventually get good at just kind of finding money, and it's not ideal. You'll never be rich doing this. Like if you came here looking for a video on how some autistic girl went from 0 to, you know, millionaire, you're gonna have to go somewhere else, and I don't think you're ever gonna find that video. The reality of it is I feel like most autistic people that make it really big usually already had quite a bit of privilege, like their parents were rich or at least very supportive. I grew up rich, but my parents basically cut me off when I didn't want to be under their thumb all the time. So I basically had to start from ground zero. And so that's who this video is for. It's for you're starting at ground zero and you're getting to where you're okay. You're surviving. That's what we're doing here. We're surviving. We're surviving in a society that wants us fucking dead. You know, we're surviving in a society that has a bunch of people in government that would stick us back in institutions if they fucking could. You do really get better at learning to just not, and this one's gonna be a hard one because this one can really depend on your personality, and I think for some people it never quite happens. I might be a little too far in the other direction on that. you do kind of learn to just not take employers' stuff seriously. Like, as I had one friend say, like, in corporate, it's fucking open season on autistic people a lot of times. And you do just kind of learn over time that when people are just taking shots at you all the time, it's really more of a reflection of them. And that doesn't go away when you work for yourself. You do have more choice over who clients you work with, but you will occasionally, like, I'm working for a lady right now that's just never happy. She's never happy. She's always whining about something. She's tried to withhold my pay 1 or 2 times. She never does because she can't find anyone else who will put up with her bullshit. And, you know, earlier in my career, it would have stressed me out so much. Now it's just kind of, especially as time's gone on and she's not fired me, and I just realized she's all talk. Goes in one ear, out other. It's just, you know. She tells me specific things. Now this, I've seen some people go too far too, and they just won't take feedback at all. And that's also immature. If she says a specific thing, I will go do that thing. But all this other bullshit where she tries to tell me how horrible I am and stuff, it's like, yeah, whatever. And you will get better at that over time. And that's true for anybody, but I think people with disabilities, we really have to internalize that we are not what people say we are, that we can be useful in society, that we can be good people, even if it's not in the exact way that we've been taught what that looks like. It's hard, especially if you're a more sensitive personality type, to internalize that, but you really have to internalize that no one gets to decide your value except you. They might in certain times be able to decide your usefulness, but then you go find someone else that does find you useful. You know, corporate jobs have tried to train me over and over again and tell me how horrible I am, God, they would treat me like I'm, you know, bringing a knife to work or something and threatening people. Like, legit with the way they treat me, it's like, they just had such a fear about them. Because I don't look at them right, like, and I would be friendly. I'd be friends with my other coworkers. Even the consulting companies I'd worked for, the last one that, you know, where their client got rid of me after 2.5 days, even they were like, we have no idea what the fuck happened. Of course, they try to coach me into like, oh, well, you should take feedback and stuff. I was like, I'm taking feedback. These people don't care about my skills. They just care about, you know, social mores and stuff, and do you fit into the in group? And I don't need any of that bullshit. Okay, there's plenty of people, I know now from experience, there's plenty of people that don't make everything about whether you fit the social in group. They're actually trying to get shit done, and I'm not going to waste my time on people that are so divorced from reality, that are so just, I go to work and I just pretend to work and then I go home to my hobbies, and so divorced from just reality because they're just cushioned. I think in this kind of K-shaped economy we have, there's a lot of people that are able to really kind of form a bubble and really be just divorced from just what actually matters, you know. And when you're disabled, and a weird advantage of being disabled, and you don't say like, have your parents taking care of everything or something. You have to look at the practical things. You have to be real about things, you know. So people who are up here on this K-shaped whatever, that can't deal with reality, I don't waste my time on them. No matter how much recruiters, HR managers, most Gen Xers I talk to for some reason try to tell me that I need to try to get along with them, it's so clear they don't need to work with me. They get to be picky, and they're going to be as picky as possible so they don't have to, because humans don't like to leave their comfort zone, right? They're not going to leave their comfort zone to entertain the idea that somebody that doesn't act exactly the way they want can still be a useful part of society. They're not going to do that until they're forced to. And with the way American society is, they're not going to be forced to for a while. And that's just the reality of it. So instead of trying to get in with those people, I'm just going to go actually solve problems, and the people I need who need me will come. I will say too, it also helps, and this is going to be a hard one to talk about because I'm not shy. Like, I was trained to be shy, and at some point I just said fuck it. People either love me or hate me, and you can find a lot of subreddits of people talking about that, especially autistic people. And I kind of weirdly just accepted that people love me or hate me. So I'm like, okay, well, if they hate me, they don't gotta fuck with me. Like, okay. You know, people, and I did find people that love working with me, and I have repeat customers, and they pay more than they need to because they want to be able to call me whenever. Well, like, it's great. I have great working relationships that all these corporate people told me I would never have, could never even imagine. I'm actually a lot happier with my work life than a lot of people making a hell of a lot more money than me and with way better titles. Now, a lot of times when I talk to other autistic people or neurodivergent, or they will kind of have this very cynical, where you'll try to suggest a solution, like, well, if you looked at this job, if you looked doing this, and they're like, well, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but da 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 da. Oh, but when, you know, they'll just hate me, or oh, they want someone who's more attractive. Oh, da, da. There's just always some reason for them to just not even try. And if that is your mentality, and I say this in a very compassionate and not like that cheap online argument way that's going around that even I've been guilty of, I say this very real. Please get therapy and deal with that. Because here's the thing. You should absolutely be angry, okay? You're delusional if you're not, okay? Our society is actively undoing progress it has made for rights and equality for people with disabilities or women or whoever, okay? It is getting worse. Anyone telling you it isn't is one of those people living in a bubble. They may be well-intended, they may actually want to help you, but they're living in a bubble, okay? It is getting worse. You should be angry. You'd be delusional if you weren't angry. But you can be angry and get shit done, okay? Anger is not bad. I am not here to tell you anger is bad. I'm not going to be one of those people. But you need to decide how you're going to channel it. Because you can channel it into being solitary, just being angry online, into maladaptive habits, or you can channel it into productivity. I channel my anger and the energy that comes from it into learning more tech skills, into saying, you, I'm going to prove you wrong, and then I go get some more clients, which I know that sounds like very cringy American bootstrappiness. That's just one example, but you need to understand that you can be angry and jaded and also still work towards a better life. The thing you have to understand is they want you to be fearful. They want you to just sit there and stew in your misery. Because when you do that, people have power over you. And I think one of the best things I ever did was go get therapy. Because when I talk to autistic people like that, like, I totally get it. I totally get that mentality of just that hopelessness and lonesomeness. But it really doesn't have to be the case. It takes a lot of work, I'm not gonna lie to you. And this isn't some just world fallacy. You know, some people are just really unlucky and just find themselves in one bad situation after another. But at the same time, in a two very different things can be true at the same time kind of way, your life doesn't get better until you want it to get better. I've dealt with so many people where I just want to ask them, like, do you actually want your life to get better, or have you just decided that the most comfortable thing is your misery? It sounds horrible, but, like, actually think about it. That's a hard question I had to ask myself. And if that's a really hard question for you to ask, again, therapists are really good at that. And before you bitch at me about, like, costs and all that, look at resources in your county. When I was living in Franklin County, they had an income-driven system, and so I didn't actually have to pay anything for therapy. So look around. And every day that I am able to succeed, spend time with my friends, make some money, despite my fear, it's not that's not there. I get made keenly aware of how close I am to living under a bridge many days. But then I also take that opportunity to be grateful and to commemorate how that just hasn't happened yet. And if it has happened, you've gotten to that point, you've climbed out of it, congratulations to you too. That's fine. I've since being here in one of the poorest counties in Ohio, I have met people that have legit been like drug addicted homeless people living under bridges, and now are these, you know, eloquent speakers who advocate for, you know, eradicating stigma of those who have addiction. And like, the point is, they get a job, they get a life, they get family, friends, and they succeed. And like, when you see those people, you're like, well, shit, like, they can do it, so can I. I mean, really. And I don't think they'd be insulted by me saying that. Like, you know, and this isn't, I'm not trying to do the whole, like, you know, children in Africa thing where it's like, oh, someone has it worse, you know, your problems don't matter, because you'll sometimes see that too. And no, your problems matter, okay? Like, even if you are privileged as and your parents pay for everything, but your parents also keep you from doing anything, that is a problem that needs dealt with, okay? I am not here to tell you that is not, it matters. But I'm also here to tell you the hard truth that if you want to solve your problems, you got to want to solve your problems. And I mean, sometimes you got to get creative. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. Sometimes you got to approach people even when it feels extremely uncomfortable. Even if you know they're probably going to hate you. You know, that's how I'm able to get jobs so easily. Like, just today, knowing, since this cleaning job, like, I never know what's going to happen with it, because she constantly talks like she wants to fire me. She never does, but I approached someone else, and I was like, hey, you got any jobs? And she's like, oh yeah, I have a cleaning job. I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, you just sometimes have to do things despite. And I know if you spend a lot of time on Reddit or a lot of the social medias, they can give you 1,000 reasons why that's a bad idea. And, you know, and when you fail, they'll be happy to talk about how you failed. But you need to remember that those are do-nothing bitches.
Many people struggle with this common type of human being. Do-nothing bitches are vampires of other people's joy. Instead of living authentically, they feed off masking their true selves, doing nothing and criticizing others who actually put themselves out there.
And we need to ignore the do-nothing bitches. Sometimes even if they're friends and family you care about. On that note, actually, I want to end it off with talking about probably the single most important thing to guaranteeing success when you are living in an economy and a society that hates you. And that is community. It is finding your people. I see way too many fellow Americans that just kind of are like, people are horrible. I do best by my lonesome. I'm, you know, an introvert, when really they're just being antisocial. Like, I'm an introvert too. I like my time to myself. That is not a recipe for success. We're constantly taught this mythos of the self-made entrepreneur that, you know, just did everything themselves and relied on nobody. And it's just that, it's a mythos. It's mythology. Okay, it's a romantic concept, and in the worst regard, in a very delusional regard. The people that I've seen that have succeeded freelancing or working for themselves, or just even, you know, living in a society that hates them, is they find their people based on who has shared values, not based on, you know, are they also queer, or also they also male or female. Now you might gravitate towards a certain group. Like, there's definitely value in going to an LGBT club if you're coming from like an ultra religious background, and I hope you find your people there, but you might not. That was kind of my experiences. I was actually kind of disappointed. Even though I'm queer, I don't think any of my other friends technically identify as queer. I've had friends in the past that did. I would love to have some other friends that are, say, asexual, so we could talk about it. And, you know, I didn't also have to have friends who were also non-religious like me. Actually, most of my friends are religious. This is another mistake I see people make, is they have such a specific expectation of who their people are. When they don't find them, they just think they need to be lonely, and that's just not the case. You need to be willing to take anyone into your social circle. For me, who's in my social circle is more about, you know, mutually caring about each other. Like, we're the type of people that will call each other randomly, that we'll check on each other if we don't hear from each other for a while. But we'll also respect space. You know, my friends are the kind of people that value just being able to say, I don't feel like talking today. We talk very openly about our beliefs, religious or otherwise, and we just don't get offended. We're legitimately fascinated and want to learn about each other's beliefs, even if we really don't get it sometimes. Like, my best friend's Muslim, and sometimes we're just kind of like, how the fuck do you... But that's a good part of the friendship, not bad. And that support that I've gotten is what has allowed me to not live under a bridge. It's not my entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, yeah, that helps too. That's helped me make money. But the thing that's really kept me from living under a bridge has been my friends, has been my found family. You know, it's my friend that let me live with her for a week or so when it was really fucking cold in January. It is the friends that have, you know, lent me money, knowing that I will make every goddamn effort to pay them back one way or another because I respect them. It is my friend who will let me live in his van with him if, you know, everything just goes to shit. Those people are really why I'm not living under a bridge right now. And yes, I've done the hard work to make the money. It can be both. Americans have such a hard concept with, like, you worked hard, you deserve what you get, but also you are very much a product of, like, the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it can be both. And a lot of people get really offended if you point out their privilege and think it takes away from the hard work they did, or people who have really pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, but they're very clearly lonely, and they'll get very defensive about that. It's just, it's none of it's productive. You know, it might look like success on the outside, but it is not, and those people are not sustainable. And unfortunately, that's a lot of who I meet. So I would argue the real secret to surviving in society that hates you is go find those other people that kind of feel like they're on the outside of society and make friends with them. You know, I mean, yeah, start your own business and stuff too, all that good, you know. Like, American entrepreneur, innovative, industrialist. Like, yeah, sure, do that too. Like, I mean, yeah. No, yeah. Follow your dream, business ideas, yeah, that's do that too. But the way we are going to get out of this mess is to succeed with our friends in spite of the people that have told us that we will not succeed and we will not have friends. Thank you very much. I need to get better at learning how to end my videos.